आगे सारे आप
सारे
लोगों ने इकोनॉमिक सर्वे जाके देखा कुछ घर पे? इकोनॉमिक सर्वे की चैप्टर 1 किन्होंने भी देखी? जस्ट रिएक्शन दीजिए, थम्स अप चैट पे, थम्स अप करिए जिसने चैप्टर 1 जाके रूम पे देखा एटलीस्ट। या फिर कम कितने लोगों ने जाके इकोनॉमिक सर्वे कम से कम चैप्टर 1 जो पिछले क्लास में हमने करी थी उसको देखा है? रितिका जी ने की है, नीतीश जी ने किया है, अभिलाषा जी ने किया है, मुस्कान जी ने किया है, काफी लोगों ने किया। ओके ओके, हाँ, गुड गुड। अच्छा, कौन कौन से ऐसे महान लोग थे जिन्होंने सिर्फ उसको कम से कम डाउनलोड करने तक की हिम्मत करी, कि सोचा कम से कम डाउनलोड तो कर ही लूं, पढ़ूंगा नहीं तो कोई बात नहीं, कम से कम डाउनलोड तो कर लेता हूँ। कितने ऐसे महानुभाव थे? वो भी थम्स अप कर सकते हैं। दैट इट सेल्फ इज एन एफर्ट। कम से कम वो 100% नहीं तो 30-10% है जिन्होंने डाउनलोड कर लिया कि हाँ मेरे पास है तो सही, जब दिल करेगा पढ़ सकते हैं। और किनको ऐसा लगा कि अच्छा ठीक है अब तो पढ़ ही लिया, जोश में आए थे क्लास देखने के बाद कि अब तो इकोनॉमिक सर्वे यू कर लेंगे, फिर क्लास खत्म हुई और भूल गए कि अरे हाँ अब देखते हैं मोदी जी पहले क्या बोलते हैं, उसके अकॉर्डिंग डिसाइड करेंगे कि इको पढ़ना सर इको सब पढ़ना है या नहीं पढ़ना। Now, let's come back and I'll start the class from, I'll just share the screen and we'll start our class from there, okay? Is this visible? Now, we started our last class with Economic Survey 2019. I'll just give you a small preview and then I'll start with the rest of the data. We talked about the theme of economic survey, and I think you must be remembering that the theme was wealth creation, and we want to have a 5 trillion economy. Apart from that, I also give you some very basic detail about economic survey, that Department of Economic Affairs, in the guidance of Chief Economic Advisor, comes up with the economic affair almost every year, and it is being presented in the House of the Parliament. It's not binding, okay? So we have talked about that. We talked about the color, that is the lavender, showing the synthesis between the old and new. We talked about the volume 1 and 2, and I have started with volume 1. This first chapter, that is the wealth creation, the invisible hand supported by the hand of trust. I highlighted the importance of Tirukural as being used here multiple times. And I think it will be very important for you to go into Tirukural, Tiruvalluvar, Sangam literature, third phase. I think these parts will be very important. We also discussed a few important terms. I'll request you not to just scribble on the screen, okay? So we also discussed certain important terms like wealth creation, that is wealth creation, invisible hand, hand of trust, Uttarapat, Dakshinapat, and Thalinomics. Now, wealth creation, I highlighted that we highlighted that our old age tradition, we have an old age tradition of focusing on wealth creation, and there is nothing wrong in it. And economic survey also highlights that we must focus on ethical wealth creation if we want to achieve a 5 trillion economy. This is the graph which showed that how we have an old age tradition. Then we talked about the invisible hand of Adam Smith, ideas of invisible hand, where a government should run with least of intervention. We also talked about the graphs which proves this invisible hand benefits. We talked about the hand of trust, where the hand of trust talks about that how a trust can lead to enhancing the economic wealth creation. We talked about the three characteristics, that is excludability, the non-rival and non-rejectable behavior. Then we also talked about a concept called thalinomics. We said that there are certain instruments for wealth creation. These instruments will be discussed as we go through the next of the chapters of this volume 1. We talked about another indices, that is corruption perception index given by Transparency International, where we have improved significantly. Now, let's talk about the chapter 2, that is entrepreneurship and wealth creation at the grassroots. Now, if you go here, one of the most important thing, once again, it starts with the Tirukural code. And once again, I would like to highlight that please go through the Sangam literature, the third phase of Sangam literature, Tiruvalluvar. These important aspects must be covered by you. Now let's go into this chapter and let's try to understand the what this chapter actually contains. Now, if you go here, one of the very important things this chapter contains is that it talks about, I'm really sorry, it talks about the entrepreneurship activity. The chapter talks about the creation or the drivers of entrepreneurship activity. And the focus is the bottom of the administrative pyramid. Now, here, when I'm talking, or the economic survey, when it's talking about creation of a focus on entrepreneurship, it's focusing upon the bottom of the administrative pyramid. And this bottom of the administrative pyramid is nothing but the data collected from the 500 districts in India, around 500 and more districts in India. So basically, they're looking into these 500 districts, their data, and accordingly, they're talking about that how they can create and focus more on entrepreneurship activity at a grassroots level. The data is being very well captured by MCA 21, that is Ministry of Corporate Affairs 21 database, where around more than 5 lakh of companies' data are available here. So that data is very helpful to get a picture of how this entrepreneurial activity is happening in India. Now, if we look into one of the first aspect the chapter 2 discuss is that it says that India is ranking number 3. I highlight and I'll once again emphasize that India ranks number 3 in terms of new firm created. Now that is something very encouraging to see, that we are number 3 in terms of number of new firms created. And if we go through the data, that the data shows that if you see here from 2006 to 2014, from 2006 to 2014, the compounded annual growth was 3.8%. Economic Survey says that from this period, the compounded annual growth is 3.8%. On the other hand, from 2014 to 2018, the compounded annual growth is around 12.2%. So that is a significant increase in the number of new firms that has come up in India. And we must appreciate some of the very important, one of the flagship firm that the government started from 2014 onward. I think you must be knowing its name. Can you just comment in, just put it in the comment section, what scheme or the what initiative of the government I'm talking about? Anybody? Yeah, it's Startup India. I think you must be remembering that, Startup India. So the government is saying that around 2018, if you look from 2018, it was around 70,000. In 2018, it has reached to around 1,24,000, and that's a significant growth in the number of new firms created. Now, the second point it is highlighting is that there is a comparative advantage in the service sector as compared to the manufacturing, infrastructure, and agriculture. Now, look at here. If you see here, you will find out that agriculture is almost having a flat growth. Similarly, manufacturing and infrastructure, the number of new firm created is not changing. It's almost same. These are the three which I'm talking about. Can you see this? Agriculture, manufacturing, and infrastructure. Almost no change in the number of new firms created. On the contrary, if I look into the number of new firms created in the service sector, it is quite high, and especially post 2014, which is being appreciated by Economic Survey by saying that from 2014 onward, there is a huge increase in the number of firms, and basically the comparative advantage is being taken care by the service sector. So first point, that we have a lot of new firms is being created with a rate of around 12.2%. And second point is that the which sector which is showing the most number of new firms? Service sector. Now let's look into the third important point which chapter 2 wants to make. It is saying that if you look into the grassroots of entrepreneurship, and what is the grassroots I'm talking about? I'm talking about the GDP at district level. It is saying that if a 10% increase in the registration of new firm is happening, that is, if a 10% more new firms is being created at district level, that leads to around 1.8% increase in the district GDP, that is GDDP. So it is quite a very good thing. And it is also saying that it's not that entrepreneurship is having a significant impact on the wealth creation of the grassroots level. So I think I'll once again like to highlight that what is the theme of this economic survey? It is wealth creation. And in the chapter 2, what I'm talking about one of the tools for wealth creation. And what it is entrepreneurship. So economic survey is very clearly highlighting that when there will be more number of wealth firms created at grassroots level, that itself will contribute into the wealth creation. And if you remember the last class, I have said that economic survey is using the GDP as a uh, as a as a as a tool to gauge that how much wealth creation is happening. So it is very clearly showing that if 10% new firms will be created or registered, how much district GDP will be increasing? 1.8%. So obviously, more the firm, more the wealth creation, which is being tried to be showed by the economic surveys data. Now let's go to the fourth important point. Now here this picture very clearly identifies that how a 10% new firm is leading to increase in around 1.8% of GDP, that is gross domestic district product. Now, the fourth important point which this chapter is making, that the growth of these firms is not concentrated into any particular area. Like it is into happening into a particular sector, that is service sector, but not happening into a particular area, because it is happening across all India. And to show that, there is a very clear cut graph which shows here that number of new firms created into South India, North India, East India, and West India. Now, obviously, East India has a less number of growth. Can you see here the East India growth here? It is having a bit less number of growth, which will be explained later. But overall, into the rest of the three part of the country, the growth is quite similar. So we cannot say that the new firm which is being created post 2014 is being restricted to a particular sector or particular area. It is happening in service sector is happening having a comparative advantage, but obviously it is not having it's area wise, it is quite heterogeneous. Now the fifth point it is making is that the for wealth creation, literacy and education also plays a very important role. And it is saying that if there is a high literacy and high education, that is also promoting a higher wealth creation in terms of higher new entrepreneurial activity. An example is being taken here that in the eastern area, that is eastern part of India, the literacy is around 59.6%. According to the 2001-11 numbers created, that itself is also low. I'll just show you the last picture. Here, can you see that only one area, the number of new firms created is quite low compared to other, and which is this area? Eastern part of India. And once again, economic survey also very clearly is trying to link this with the literacy, that the lesser the literacy rate, the lesser the firm creation and the lesser is the wealth creation. Now, another important point the economic survey is making is that the low level of local education and the quality of infrastructure, that is physical infrastructure, also influence the firm creation. So finally, we can just sum these all things in a very simple way, that ease of doing business, the flexible labor law that can enable the new firm creation, and especially in the manufacturing sector. Now, it is saying that we need to focus on certain sector like literacy, education, physical infrastructure, flexible labor law, and ease of doing business, so that more new firms will be created, more entrepreneurial activity should be promoted, and more wealth creation can happen in India. And the more the wealth creation, the more the prosperity to the every section of the society. So that is all that we have in the second chapter. I think, is it okay with all of you? I think the ideas regarding second chapter is clear. Now let's go to the third chapter, that is pro-business versus pro-crony. Here, once again, we are the third chapter of the economic survey. And this is once again something where the aim is to promote wealth creation. Now, how we are saying that we can promote wealth creation in the second chapter? By promoting entrepreneurship. How to promote entrepreneurship? By focusing upon these important points: literacy, education, physical infrastructure, flexible labor laws, ease of doing business. On the other hand, here it is saying that if the government focuses more on pro-business as compared to the pro-crony policies, that itself can lead to a better wealth creation. Now let us try to understand this. But before understanding, first let us try to understand what is pro-business. business policies. Now, pro-business policy is nothing. It's very simple idea. Here, every firm is competing with a level playing field. Resource allocation in economy is efficient, and obviously that will lead to a citizen welfare will be maximized. So basically, what you are focusing is the business and not on a particular individual or not on a particular entity or a firm. Everybody is being treated equally. Now, the pro business policy means increase in competition because everybody will be playing on an equal ground. Correct market failures, we'll get to know that whether there are problems in the market or not, and which will obviously promote a better business accountability. Now, how we can, in which areas we need to promote the pro business sector, whether it's to start a business, whether it's to register a property, whether it's to enforce contract, obtain credit, bid of natural resources to get the permit, or resolving insolvency. In all of these areas, what we need is a very competitive environment, a pro-business environment, so that it can promote the social welfare of the people and the welfare of the business sector. Now, if this is pro-business, let us try to understand what is this pro-crony activities. Now, if we have to understand the pro-crony activities or policies, here one of the most important problem here is that the incumbent firm, the firm which is already old, dominant, existing, can receive certain preferential treatment. Then obviously the resource allocation is not efficient here, and that can lead to not the citizen welfare may be compromised. So this is known as pro-crony policies. Now, here obviously these kind of policy promote narrow business interest. यहाँ सबको cater नहीं कर रहे हैं, किसको cater कर रहे हैं? कुछ particular dominant section को जो पहले से ही present है. Now let us try to get through an example. If we look into the discretionary allocation of natural resources till 2011. Now, if you look into this, there was certain sectors or firms which were being allocated natural resources, and there was not having very logical reasoning that why they were being allocated this natural resources. I think you must be remembering all those lot of scams that came up into those era. Now, when these resources, whether it's a Colgate scam, whether it is a 2G scam, or whether it is the Commonwealth scam, when it's not allocated properly, it is being allocated in a discretionary way, these are pro-crony policies. And I think I don't need to justify that how they have hampered overall our entire economy. I think you must be knowing that. Similarly, post 2014, when we shifted to a competitive bidding, that has led to a very positive impact in the entire natural resource allocation, and that shows a pro-business policy. So I think these are the two very important comparisons. If I quote another example, which is being provided by the Chief Economic Advisor himself, he's saying that if you remember the IPL, now the moment the IPL came up, it has not only helped in promoting the cricket to the every person or to every household and to promoting the cricket as a sport itself, but it has also ensured that person playing into the remote part of the country has also been projected and come up into the national platform. And that is something very positive, I would say. So this is what a pro-business policy, a policy which is being competitive in nature. The more competition, a better representation to every sector. Another negative impact or example is being provided by the economic survey is the willful defaulters. The willful defaulters, when they siphon off their money, loan taken from the banks to their personal use, obviously these money which could have been used for the rural development is being diverted into another sector. And that is totally not justified, and that totally hampers the wealth creation. So that is why economic survey very clearly say that we need to focus on pro-business as compared to pro-crony. Now here it's saying that the pro-crony business, what they basically do is that they try to restrict the import, try to lobby against the competition or entering of the new competition, and that, or even the regulatory oversights are being controlled or reduced, and that itself lead to an overall negative impact on a free environment of the market, and that itself lead to a lot of negative impact on the wealth creation. So once again, economic surveys in a very beautiful way, This entire figure very clearly just summarizes the every part, that how we need to focus more on pro business and just wean away or move away from pro crony policies in our country. Now, now let's look into the other aspect, the very important term, that is a creative destruction. The economic survey in the chapter 3 also comes up with a very important term called creative destruction. Now, creative destruction is a very simple process. It says that capitalism leans to a constantly changing structure of the economy, means the industry or the firms which are no longer profitable close down, and it helps that the resources which they are not able to use efficiently to move to those firms which can use these resources efficiently. सिंपल भाषा में, जो एक सब फर्म अच्छा काम नहीं कर रही है वो बंद हो जाए, ताकि उसकी रिसोर्सेज, उस पे लगने वाले पैसे किसी एक ऐसे फर्म में जो एफिशिएंट है उनको यूटिलाइज कर सके. क्रिएटिव डिस्ट्रक्शन फॉर समथिंग गुड. नाउ अगर हम, now the economic survey is saying that if we look into Sensex is nothing but a 30 blue chip companies ka sensitive index, which shows that how these 30 companies are doing. Now if we look into the Sensex, we'll get to realize that initially, like back before 19 liberalization, every company used to stay in the Sensex for around 60 years. But अभी ये कंपनी 12 साल से ज्यादा एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती. They get churned out in 12 years. मतलब क्या है, एक कंपनी पहले बहुत दिनों तक रहती थी, अब ये 12 साल में ही चली जा रही है. मींस न्यू फर्म्स, एफिशिएंट फर्म्स आर मेकिंग स्पेसेस एंड churning out or making the creative destruction of the old inefficient firms. So this is being very clearly depicted through this entire picture, where it's showing that how from this period the number of companies here, around out of 30 companies in a Sensex, number of 20 around companies are staying for 50 and 60 years. वहीं अगर आप इस phase में देखेंगे from post liberalization, the number of companies are around 5 and 6 and they are staying for 10 and 12 years. Means in every 5 years, around 1/3 of the companies present in Sensex is being churned out and being replaced by a more efficient and a better doing company. Means that there is a continuous creative destruction that is happening in our economy, and which is something very good. Now that is being explained that how at the end explained that how the liberalization of Indian economy, which mainly began in 1991, has unleashed the competitive market, and which is helping in this creative destruction as well as promoting a pro business policy. And we need to wean away with the pro crony policy to ensure that our economy keeps on growing and promoting the wealth creation. Now, this is all for today for the chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the volume 1 of the economic survey, where we are talking about one important thing, that is entrepreneurship creation, that how India has become rank 3 in new firms creation. And second one, that is how we need to go for more pro business policy and wean away from pro crony policy, as well as focus on more of creative destruction present in our economy. Now I'll give you 4-5 questions. You can use the chat section or the comment section to answer this question. The first question: where is the economic survey presented? The 4 options are Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and the D is Rashtrapati Bhavan. You can put your answer into the comment section. I think most of you are putting it as C, so it's true, it's a C, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. If you go into the last chapter slide, I've very clearly written it's being presented before the budget in both the houses. Now, second important question: which is the only bank? Just a second. Which is the only bank which is being listed into the top 100 list of the world? Just a second. I have to put, yeah. Just a sorry. So which is the only bank of India to rank in top 100? The answers are coming to B. Obviously, SBI it is. So true. Now third is creative destruction. Give me the answer for creative destruction. Creative destruction is when one firm is taken over by another, the process of competition where inefficient producers are driven out of the business and one reason for the decrease in the consumer buying power, or all of the above? I think most of you are giving the right answer once again, that is D. So this is all. We'll be entertaining all your doubts after the end of both the session by Nitish sir and Vishal sir. So this is all from my side. Hope you have a very good like learning experience. See you in the next class for the next of the chapter. This is all from my side. Thank you.